Welcome. I'm so glad that we have a few people checking in here. We've put this together in a pretty big hurry, as many of you have done, I know, in your teaching lives. I'm located in Colorado Springs, and I normally do work from home, so this isn't a huge change for me. It's a time when I notice that my hair is getting grayer and longer and more out of control, but other than that, everything's good at my house. Bought an elliptical so I could get some exercise, and my husband and my daughter who's home and I all take walks every day because we live on the edge of town, close to the foothills, so we're far from other people. And if we see any neighbors on the street, we just walk across the street with them. So I know that you're all in different situations, but we decided to introduce you in this first of many webinars to the TPS Teachers Network, because that has been a real happening place, and we have really worked hard, and many of our members are working hard to help out teachers who are put into this sudden position of having to teach online. Some of you who are in this session will be old hands at the TPS Teachers Network, and others will never have seen it before. So this first half hour is supposed to be an introduction to the TPS Teachers Network. And then after this, we'll move into the use of the album tool. So the second half will focus on the album tool. The TPS Teachers Network officially stands for Teaching with Primary Sources Teachers Network. It's a professional social media platform, and it's designed to host and facilitate community conversations, professional conversations, all focused on teaching with primary sources. It is funded by the Library of Congress, and it's Learning and Innovation Office. It's free to join. It is password protected, so all work goes on behind that password. And we are fast approaching 10,000 members. We've been up and running since about 2013. The network really derives its strength from the fostering of relationships among users with similar professional interests. And you'll see that as we go through this presentation, I believe, how that works. It's really based on a peer-to-peer model of teachers helping teachers. If you are not a member of the TPS Teachers Network, you are welcome to join it at any time. You can join it right now on your phone, on your computer. You can wait, but I sincerely invite you to join the TPS Teachers Network. We use a two-step registration process, and that's for security reasons. So once you've visited this link that's at the bottom of your page and followed the instructions, you'll get a verification email in your email. It's fairly typical of signing up for most social media outlets, and you'll have to then accept the terms and conditions, and then you can get started right away. Please let us know in the chat if you run into any registration issues, if you're trying to do it as I talk today. And our emails also will be listed at the end of this presentation in case you'd like to contact us later. So what exactly is the TPS Teachers Network? Well, I generally like, when I'm introducing it, to do a quick scan of the home page. So this is a screenshot of the home page. You can see from this screenshot, this is the top part of the home page, and it's organized a lot like other social media outlets. So it starts with our logo, then there's a menu bar, and you can see the home icon, the house. Across, you can see links to your profile, groups in the network. I'll get into that a little bit in the next slide. I think it's the next slide. Albums, TPS Commons, which is a group, but everybody belongs to it in the network. There's a tag search symbol. There's a question mark. That will take you to the help center. There's a bell that will have a number normally by it for any of the notifications of new activity that you haven't seen yet in the network. And there's an envelope icon, which is just the internal messaging system of the network. So you can contact people in the network directly without knowing their emails. And then on the 2/3 of going down the left-hand side is an activity feed. So, and you'll notice it's the most recent activity at the top, and then you'll see the first portions of individual posts in this activity feed. And then on the right-hand side, you can see a trending module. And that module is a quick way to access the latest content, the most popular content. You see some icons for the most liked, the most viewed, and the most discussed content. And I'll be showing you a few more navigation tricks as we proceed through this webinar. Okay, next slide, just to let you know a little bit of what happens in the TPS Teachers Network. This is a screenshot of 3 items that would have appeared on the main page, the home page activity feed. You can see that Jessica, there at the top, created a discussion, and her discussion was about elections and culturally relevant pedagogy. Tom, next one down, commented on another discussion in the network about children's books with Native American themes. And you can see the group that he commented in was the primary sources in the school library group. And then the third one down is Cheryl, and she created an image in the network, and this was done back in January, I believe. Oh no, week of October 28th, 2019. This was on the impeachment proceedings. So these are just 3 kind of typical examples of the kinds of content that you'll see in the network. If you were to click on any of the titles of these 3 items, you would go to the full screen of that item that was posted in the network. That takes you to the entire nested discussion that may have occurred around that post. And that will come complete with comments and replies to comments, numbers of likes. So every type of content in this network supports these conversations around teaching with primary sources. So whether teachers start discussions or share links in the network or upload videos or create an album, all of the types of content in this network then can be expanded with ideas from the whole community. Ideas, links, discussions about teaching strategies, and so on. So it's a really friendly, supportive environment, I think, a place to learn from and support colleagues and professionals from across the nation and a few around the world. It is, as I mentioned, also a network of groups. And I have listed on the right-hand side just a very, very small number of the groups that are in the network, but I think this list gives you an idea of the breadth of interest in the groups in the network. There are dozens more. So, and we continue to create groups on a need basis, on a request basis. I think some of the more recent groups that we've created, about mid-year last year, we created one on teaching with film. There's a newer one on, and you noticed that in the previous slide, primary sources and culturally relevant pedagogy. There's one on teaching with, or research into teaching with primary sources. One of the newer ones is the question formulation technique for primary source learning. So we keep creating them, and I have to tell you that the more groups you join, the richer your experience will be in this network. I cannot stress that enough. The groups are, they really come in several different categories. We have some grade level groups. We have a pre-K2 group, and we have an elementary level group. Some of them are based on categories of primary sources. So we have a maps and geography group, for example. The film group I mentioned before. QFT, culturally relevant pedagogy, and so on. There are some content groups. We have an active STEM group, English language arts, civil rights is on this screen, elections, it's called the Election Central. There's a very active group on arts and arts integration. There is more than one civics group in the network, American Jewish experience, literacy, and so on. So lots of different groups. There are a few role-related groups. For example, a group for school librarians, a group for technology integration specialists, and frankly, any teacher who uses technology. Researchers, pre-service teachers, we have a group for them. And then there are a few private groups that are generally workshop related. So lots and lots of possibilities in the group. So again, please join lots of groups. You will appreciate the experience. And I think you can probably guess why we created a week and a half ago this group. This, I actually have this slide here to show you the typical organization of a group. And I've circled the icons that you'll be using for the most part, starting with discussions. Those are the speech bubbles. You can upload images or create albums, videos, files. I would say that most of the files that are uploaded here are lesson plans that have been created on Word, or maybe they're in PDF form. Links are an important kind of upload in this network too. Okay, the next slide is the TPS Commons, and as I said, this is the largest group in the network because this is the one that everybody who joins the network is in. It's our most all-inclusive group. If you ever have any questions about where to post something, it's safe to post in the TPS Commons because everybody will see it. So, but you can see, again, at the top of the screen, you see those icons there that are typical across all groups in the network. Keith and Kyle, if you see any questions in the chat, please bring them up. And for all of you, if you have questions, please put them in the chat. We'll try to keep track of that and answer your questions as we go. A few other helpful features in the network. We use a few different ways of communicating with our users. We publish an insider post. You see that on the left every month. This is a general interest post that lets you know what's been happening, kind of behind the scenes in the network. This particular post was about the new group that we created for online instruction and for teachers who are dealing with that. We might feature a new user or a user in one month, maybe another month, a new group, or we might give you details about enhancements to tools in the network, different programming changes. In the middle, you see the Help Center, and you can see underneath the picture of the reading room at the Library of Congress, the different categories we have with questions answered, FAQs in the Help Center. Very handy, especially for beginning users, to check out the Help Center if you have any questions. And then you just click on the TPS Teachers Network icon to get back to the main network. On the right-hand side, you see that we publish a Best of the Month newsletter. We do that every month at the very end of the month or the very beginning of the next month. And it includes such items as a spotlight on teaching strategies, great discussions, most viewed albums. We have a map of who has joined the network, a tip of the month. And this is just a curated newsletter to help you catch up if you haven't had time to visit the network, or to just, we curate it for what we think is a nice broad range of interests and users and grade levels, so that it's a handy way to keep up with what's going on in the network. I should mention that you also, as a member of the network, you'll receive notifications, and the default of notifications is a daily email in your inbox. You can also set those notifications to weekly or monthly. Monthly isn't quite enough to be useful, I don't think. Weekly, maybe, but I like getting mine daily. Of course, I'm steeped in the TPS Teachers Network, and you can set those in your preferences. What else? I should also mention that we have a cadre of TPS Teachers Network mentors. They are trained, they are dedicated, they are amazing, always willing to help you with your questions, to lead you to primary sources, to discuss teaching strategies with you, and they also contribute a great deal to the content of the network. We're going to move to a quick live demo. I've got to check my time here. Oh, I'm doing well. But I put these slides up here just so you'll, well, you know, when you teach, you tell us what you're going to teach, and then you teach it, and then you tell what you taught. So this is, I'm telling you what I'm going to show you in this upcoming demo. The three items on the left, add discussion, add album, add video, these just represent the kinds of content that are quite common in the network. Also, add links is another one. If you click on the icons for these types of content, then the tabs on the left there will change to reflect what you clicked on. So if you click on the link icon, you'll get an add link tab, and so on. So they match. Most groups are public and easy to join. Just look for the icon at the bottom left, the little person with a plus sign. You do have to join a group in order to comment, in order to post. You can read everything in public groups, but unless you join it, you can't contribute to that group. So I think it's worthwhile to just join a whole bunch. And all types of posts, as I mentioned, allow you to add comments and reply to comments. You can like content in the network, and that red square there with the gear icon, that's an important one. Just look for that if you ever want to edit anything that you've added to the network. I use this all the time because I'm always trying to improve my writing, I guess. So that will be available on any content that you add. And I'm also going to show you how to add a post in the network. So here are some screenshots. When I show you, you'll see an add discussion box. You see that you can add tags to make your content easy to find by other members. And then you add a title, your discussion, whatever it is, you can put in pictures and tags. So as I go through this demo, and I think I have about 10 minutes to do it, that should be plenty of time. Put your questions in the chat, and here's just some guidance here for you. How do I? Where can I go for? Is it possible to? And anything else that you'd like to know about the network. Keith, Kyle, any comments so far?
Not just yet, you're doing good.
Okay, and I'm gonna exit this screen. I'm going to move over to the network. And this is the network as of right now. Let me make that a little bigger for you. This is the home page. And you can see that the most recent content was added 73 minutes ago, and it was a comment. And if I scroll down, remember when we did that scan of the home page? Here's a reply to a comment. Here's another reply to a comment. You can see on the right-hand side, the latest insider post. You can see that an album has been added, and I won't be covering the album in this part of the webinar, but I will. That's the entire second half of the webinar. A calendar of TPS events, recent content, a members box, you can see who's online right now. A quick way to get at the groups, and an easy link on the bottom right to the latest Teaching with the Library of Congress blog. Okay. Go back to the top. And I think I'll go to the TPS Commons. This is a quick link to the TPS Commons at the top. And here you have an announcement about this webinar series. And that's because this is a sticky content that we stuck at the top. But if I click on the discussion right here, you see that icon, the word bubbles. If I click on that, you can see that the Add Discussion tab comes up. And if I click, if I click Add Discussion, you can see what I showed you on the other slide, that you get a text box. So if I were wanting to add something here, webinar demo, I give it a title, I give it a description, oops. I can add a tag, and if I add a tag, I click here, and you can see that we have some default tags. So maybe this discussion, make that bigger, is for grades 3 to 5 and 6 to 8. And I'm going to post something for art and music. And you can see that those tags go right in the text box. Let me make this a little smaller again. I might also wish to reference somebody in the network to catch their attention and to generate a notification for them. So if I add a user reference, I can do a search on a user. So I saw that Michelle Pearson was in the network, I'm sorry, in the webinar with us. So I can search for Michelle by clicking here, clicking on her avatar, and she appears in my discussion as well. So that's a good way to connect to people throughout the network. And then when I'm all done, I simply click on Add Discussion. So that's the basic way to add content to the network. I'm gonna back out of this though.
Hey, Mary.
Yeah.
We had a quick question from Steve Davis. He mentions,
Okay.
is the TPS Teachers Network a good place to get current events content for COVID-19?
No, I would say, generally speaking, no, because we're dealing with primary sources. We are in the past in most cases. However, I will say that in the new group, and I'm gonna show you that in the new group, which is right here, it's about teaching online with primary sources. You will find, Steve, a number of references to primary sources used to support the study of the coronavirus through, well, support the study of pandemics throughout history. So an example, here's a new video that I haven't looked at, I have to tell you, but this was added and uploaded. It's a video journal. The idea of students taking their slides and then adding some animation to some primary sources. This is a highly technical possibility, but you could play that video straight from the screen. I'm not absolutely certain that that would work in this webinar, so I'm not going to try that. Another thing I've noticed in the teaching online with primary sources is the number of albums that our users have been creating. Here's one on the home front, a daily dose of primary sources. So this is the same user here. This is a mentor who has this project idea for tying historical primary sources with the coronavirus and with the current situation. I think there'll be some other discussions that are related to that too. And you can see me clicking around. Online art tours, free webinars, smart fun for kids. Here's an example. The Library of Congress has a great list of smart fun for kids library, fun for kids online resources that takes you to a Library of Congress site. So yes and no. Great for primary sources related to the coronavirus, not for coronavirus information itself. Does that answer the question? I think so. We're at We have not too much time left. Why don't you let me know if you have questions about getting around, and I'd be happy to show you those. I'm thinking of showing you this. This is a link that was shared in the new group for teaching online, and it's actually from outside the network, but it's a Getty Museum challenge for people in self-quarantine, where the challenge is that they recreate favorite works of art. And just today, just not very long ago, I'm not finding everything. All right, what have I missed? You know what? I think this was put in the arts and primary sources group. So let me just do arts and primary sources. And you can see I'm using the search function. And I come up here with the arts and primary sources group. I use this search function a lot. So this is the same one that this user, who's a mentor, shared in the arts group. Keith Kyle, I'm not seeing why. I'm not seeing the discussion related to this. So I'm stumped, but I will get to the bottom of this and hopefully come up with an answer by the second half. Any questions about getting around? Just got a couple minutes left in this first half. No questions? Okay.
Hey, Mary, I found the discussion. It was the one in the
what group is it in?
TPS Commons. I just posted a link in the chat as well.
Thank you. I'm going to take you right there. This is the same one, but it was shared in 3 different groups by this user. And the idea of one of our mentors was to take a primary source. And so instead of recreating a work of art, although this is kind of a work of art, she recreated a primary source. And this is something that you could have your students do at home with their cameras and recreate primary sources. And this, this is like my favorite thing of the last year, I think. So I did want to share that with you. This is from Cheryl Best, who's from Western Illinois. And she lives in the country, as you can see. And she simply took this ladder and added coronavirus, quarantine, COVID-19, wash hands, social distance. And the last one is we can beat it. So a fun idea for kids to do at home while they're quarantined or sheltering in place. All right, we're going to move now. Give me a minute to shift gears and let me get back to the slideshow to this slide. And then Keith or Kyle.
So there's the first part. It was the introduction to the TPS Teachers Network. You can see the URL up there for your PD certificate. It's just a really short form to fill out so that we know who to send it to. The address is bit.ly/PSTEACHINGONLINE, and that's PS Teaching Online, all lowercase letters. So thank you all for attending this one. We will take a minute or so break and come back in a second.